Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sustainable Energy Day webinar organized by the ECOFACT Project Consortium. I'm Jenny from RENA, and before we start, I would just like to highlight that if you have any question during the webinar, please write them down in the question box that you can find in the GoToWebinar tool. And we will have a dedicated session at the end of the webinar to answer to all your doubts. I immediately leave the floor to the dissemination and communication leader of the project, Mark Power from the Irish Manufacturing Research, who will introduce you to today's event and the main speakers. Please, Mark, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Iris. Hi, everybody. I'd like you to the ECOFACT webinar this morning. So the topic for today's webinar is an introduction into ECOFACT's framework and methodology. So we have 4 speakers on the line today. Project lead Francisco Martien from Cartif, Jorge Arnal Manas from Circa, Julia Vicente Gomez from Cartif, and as you just have met, Iris Zani from RENA. So today's webinar is in association with Sustainable Energy Week. So Francisco, if you can just go to the next slide, please. So just to give everybody an insight into what EU Sustainable Energy Week is. Basically, for the duration of this week, from the 25th to 29th of October, the European Commission are holding a week-long initiative under the theme of Towards 2030, Reshaping the European Energy System. And the goal of this week is to promote clean energy and energy efficiency. There's a variety of activities happening throughout the week. The program includes a 3-day policy conference, the award ceremony, there's a Youth Energy Day, and also similar to our event, the Sustainable Energy Days. So what this is projects like ourselves and other companies around Europe basically promoting what they're trying to do to help the energy efficiency buildings and factories around Europe. So I would advise after our webinar today that you visit the EU Sustainable Energy Week website just to have a look at the program and other events that may have been interest to you this week. So without further ado, I'll pass to Francisco, who's going to start the webinar.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Do you hear me well? Perfect. So quickly, I'm going to give you a very quick overview of the ECOFACT project. I'm going to repeat it several times. There is plenty of detailed information about our project in our website. So starting with the ECOFACT formal definition, it's eco-innovative energy factory management system based on enhanced LCA and LCCA towards resource efficient manufacturing. Not very friendly name, it's clear. Let's go into more friendly considerations. It's a 4-year project. We have finished our first year. It's an H2020 project, and again, you can find more detailed information in our website. What's our main objective? Our main objective is to develop and demonstrate an eco-innovative energy factory management platform based on improved dynamic LCA and LCCA. Okay, platform is the key word. Okay, what we want to do is develop a platform for factories. So what's our concept? Our concept basically can be summarized that we collect production process knowledge, professional simulation tools with energy and resource planning standards, and with that we aim to develop and demonstrate a methodology, but also a platform for boosting efficiency, but efficiency from 2 perspectives: energy perspective, but also material resources at factory level. Okay, so this is our consortium. We are 21 partners indeed, not 20, because we have 2 Fraunhofer institutes, 7 different countries, and 7 research institutes, and 4 industrial demos. Okay, what's focusing into platform? What the classical definition of platform is divided into levels and components. Okay, regarding the levels, 4 levels are considered. From the higher level, the apps and services level, to the bottom level, the field monitoring, where the data capture of the industrial facilities happens. And on top of these two levels is where the ECOFACT platform will be developed. And this ECOFACT platform, we have considered that it will have some specific components that will provide the required functionalities that are foreseen for the platform. Focusing quickly on the components, and again, apologies for going too quickly, but you have a very detailed description of what is expected from the different components in our web page. We have clusterized and how the components into 5 types. We have interoperability components, where these components take care of the communication along the different levels within the factory's facilities. We also have operations management components. We also have energy-aware manufacturing components. We have environmental-aware manufacturing components. And besides these, let's say, specific components, we have what we call the overarching components that somehow provide global decision support systems and especially cybersecurity mechanisms or cybersecurity aspects. Okay. Again, this is the architecture of the platform we aim to develop in this project. As mentioned, on the 2 higher levels of the platform, it's where the different components developed in this project will be implemented. And as you can see on the bottom level, we have 4 industrial demos that I'm going to talk then about in the next slide. ECOFACT is a demonstration activity project. We have what we call 2 pre-demos, which are not real production facilities. They are laboratory factories somehow. And in these pre-demos, the preliminary version of the ECOFACT tool will be somehow partially tested. And we also have 4 industrial facilities where we will do the final testing of the ECOFACT platform. We have a washing machine factory in Romania. We have a brewery in Greece. We have a biscuit factory in Spain, and we have the car body paint shop of a car factory in Tofas in Turkey. So this is very quickly our implementation plan. As you can see, we just finished the first, let's say, work package, which basically is related with reference framework and methodology, and that's why the next presentations will be focused on some of the results we have obtained in this activity. And finally, this is what we call as our summary slide. It's just a quick reminder of the main points. And again, please visit our website, our social media, and you will have a much more detailed information that the 4 minutes presentation I just finished now. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you, Francisco. Thank you for your presentation. Now we can move on to the next presentation that is going to apply the ECOFACT's place within the European manufacturing sector, that is going to be presented by Jorge Arnal from Chile. Jorge, the floor is yours.
Okay, so good morning and hello everybody. Sorry, I'm going to take my mask off. My name is Jorge Arnal from CIRSE, which is one of the companies that is part of the ECOFACT project. The purpose of the presentation that I'm sharing today is to explain the importance of the ECOFACT project within the European manufacturing sector. So I'm going to begin presenting a general overview of the energy sector in Europe. I wanted to start showing this graph that represents something that probably most of you may suppose, and is that the industrial sector represents an important share of the total energy consumption of the European Union, about 26% of the total consumption, and consequently, industry is highly incentivized by regulatory bodies to improve its energy efficiency. Looking into that portion of the chart, the energy that is consumed in the industries is mainly generated from fossil fuels. And even though, for example, the use of renewable energy has significantly increased in the last decades, there is still a long way to achieve a real decarbonization of the European industrial sector. If we zoom in on the industrial energy consumption, the sectors with more energy consumptions are iron and steel, construction, chemical, and mechanic. If we compare the data of the last year, which is 2015, with the bar of 1990, for example, the differences in the proportions of the different sectors are getting smaller and smaller. And that's because the European Commission, the different governments, and of course the companies, the private companies, have made many efforts in the last decades to improve the efficiency of the most energy demanding sectors. However, now that the situation is more balanced and there is not the biggest, the huge differences that were some decades ago, the efforts should be focused not only to reduce the energy consumption of some specific sectors, but the general industry as a whole. So now, the roadmap of the European Commission is focused on achieving a net zero greenhouse gases emissions economy in 2015, based on the objectives defined by the European Green Deal on the one hand and the Paris Agreement by the other hand. And in shorter term, for 2030, there are very clear defined targets, which are reduce the greenhouse gases emissions by 40% compared to the levels of 1990, achieve at least a 32% share of renewable energy, and improve the energy efficiency by at least 32% in 2050. And to achieve these goals, energy reduction strategies must address all industrial sectors, not just the spice sectors that have traditionally been the focus of the most important energy optimization measures. So, in this sense, in this framework, the ECOFACT project aims at improving the energy and the resources efficiency of 4 different sectors: the food, beverages, transport, and machinery. However, the innovations that are developed in this project could also be extrapolated or could be implemented in any of the sectors that appear in this slide. So in this framework, now I'm going to explain very briefly the context of these sectors to understand the potential of the ECOFACT project. And I'm going to start with the food and the beverages sector. Well, in Europe, the food and the beverages sectors represent one of the 5 most energy-intensive industries, and it demands more than 10% of the final European energy. If we look into, for example, a factory of this sector, its energy consumption probably will be very high, but there can be other sectors with higher consumptions. However, the number of companies dedicated to this sector is so big that the energy consumption of this sector is very relevant. In fact, this sector is the biggest employer sector in more than half of the European Union members, and more than 6,000 of megajoules are consumed per year in the food industrial processing. And well, for all these reasons, both the food and the beverages sectors were considered as key sectors to be optimized from an energetic point of view, and they both are considered in the ECOFACT project. Other of the sectors that is part of the ECOFACT project is the automotive sector. And in this case, well, this sector represents almost 20% of the global energy consumption, taking into account not only the manufacturing of the cars, but also the use stage of the cars, the transport stage. Europe is the second largest producer of passenger cars in the world, and around 6% of the employed populations in Europe are directly or indirectly working on this value chain. So it's a very relevant sector for us, for Europe. Besides, the manufacturing phase represents between 7 and 22% of the energy consumption, and also the same ratio for the CO2 emissions into a vehicle's life cycle. And within this sector, the painting stage, the paint shops, represent is the highest energy demanding stage of the process, For this reason, we are also evaluating the incorporation of the ECOFACT platform into the painting shop of a car manufacturing company. And finally, the last sector addressed in the project is the household appliances sector, because it has a strong presence in Europe, and many European countries are home to some of the globally largest companies in this sector. Well, within this industry, the manufacturing stage is responsible for a huge variety of environmental impact. For example, during the manufacturing of a washing machine, its energy consumption normally represents around 40% of the energy used in the entire life cycle. And the same happens with the other environmental impacts. So due to the importance of this sector, this is the fourth sector selected for the ECOFACT project. And with this slide, I end this contextualization of the project within the European industrial sector, and give the floor to the next presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you so much. Okay, so we can now move on to the next presentation that will be presented by Julia Vincente from CATIF, that is going to define the main characteristics of the ECOFACT platform and its method for evaluating the results. So Julia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is Julia Vicente from CATIF Center. I'm going to talk to you today about another part of the work that we have been doing during this first year of the project, ECOFACT. And I'm going to go more into the methodology that we have used for two of the areas we've worked in. So the first of it is for the definition of high-level features of the platform, how we did it through some high-level use cases scenarios, and also for the methodology of evaluation, how we worked into generate the generation of the initial impact indicators for this. So, as I was saying, the first of the aspects I'm going to talk about is related with the methodology of ECOFACT for the generation of some guidelines for the manufacturing management, making it data-driven. So, okay, so we are talking about the platform, and so one of the things that we have to do is to generate some high-level specifications for this platform, although those high-level specifications will go then divided into smaller pieces. But the first thing is to know what we want to have in big numbers, let's say. So today I'm not going to go into the specific results that we get, but into the methodology that we use to get to those results, because I think it's the most replicable aspects that we can show you today. So this is the big picture of how we did it. So what we have, Jorge has presented like a view to the external aspects that we are having within the ECOFACT platform and project. And what we are doing here is looking inside. So we wanted to go into more detail on how our four demos, the ones that both Francisco and Jorge have mentioned, are working, and how they are behaving, what are their current practices, and so on. And this is looking to their present and to their past, but we also wanted to look into the future. I wanted to know those challenges and expectations they are having from this platform. What do they want to see in this platform once they have it in their hands? Once we have this, we can go then to define those features that we did through some high-level use cases and scenarios, and then we just compiled all those results that you will be able to see and upload into the website our deliverables when they are finally approved by the commission. So what we did it, how we did it. So let's speak with the demo sites, with the people responsible there and their experts. But to do so, we wanted to talk about quite a lot of aspects, and that was important to give them the information in advance. So we made a data request form with a lot of information, aspects of information we wanted to get from them, covering those questions. From one side, looking into their current operations management aspects. We wanted to know how they work, how they schedule their production, how they make their planning, and so on, how they use the resources. And when I say resources, I mean in both material and also personal resources and so on. And also, we wanted to know their challenges for the future, challenges that could include new rules for scheduling or optimizing their productions. Another of the aspects we wanted to know about were how they get the energy into their processes, how they use it, what rules they use to split the cost of this energy they need for the production into the products, and so on. And also we wanted to know what are their challenges for the future in terms of these energy management strategies they are using currently, but also the ones they need for the future. And finally, one of the other key aspects we wanted to talk about is about the environmental aware manufacturing, so the environmental aspects. In this case, nearly all of the things that we were speaking about were challenges, because in our cases, very little information about environmental aware manufacturing was taken into account so far. So those are more challenges than current aspects. But of course, this is just a request form, and how we did it. So what we did is to send this information to the demo sites. They were talking internally with all the experts, and we then fixed some interviews. And those interviews is where we take all this information, and from this information, we were able to generate the high-level scenarios. So, as you can see, this is the same slide that my colleague Francisco has shown you. Those are the different components, the 5 groups of components. As you can see, we just focus on the 3 first within those questions, but those aspects were not all the only covered, because we also included the overarching components, both the holistic decision support system and the cybersecurity mechanisms. So all of those aspects were included on those use cases that we defined. Now I'm moving to the second aspect. I'm going to talk to you about the framework for evaluation of the manufacturing sustainability measurement. So again, I'm going to talk about the way we have been working. This is our evaluation scheme within ECOFACT. So the first stage, and is the one I'm going to show you today, is the strategy of evaluation KPIs-based portfolio generation. Afterwards, we will work on the generation of specific customized portfolios of KPIs for the different demo sites. We'll work on a specific baseline assessment, baseline for assessment for the 4 demos. And then will come the monitoring program, the data collection on the demonstration sites, and the final performance assessment that we will make by the end of the project. So how is the methodology? The first thing is to generate a set of objectives. So we had to work together with the demo sites and also talking about the objectives of the project and generate the specific objectives to be then furtherly evaluated. So we need to know what are we going to evaluate. We need a reason to measure something. So, and then what's the question? Then we had to check what we already have on the demo sites. The demo sites are already measuring a lot of things. So we had to look inside, we had to get the information from them, and we then matched the objectives and those other indicators already on the field to see what other things we should put on the table. So the next step was to look outside, to look in general, and look for a big number of indicators in different sectors and in different areas. So to get a big number of KPIs where to choose from. And finally, we analyzed all together and we decided which were going to be those KPIs that we were going to finally include in the base portfolio. So the main aspects that we put together at the end were to select from the sectors that we are covering in the project, already mentioned by Jorge. So the food and beverage, the white goods, and the automotive sectors. And so we made a review of the KPIs more used on those sectors. And on the other side, we also reviewed the KPIs per area. And we get into the KPIs used in energy-aware manufacturing. We get into the KPIs used for sustainability and environmentally aware manufacturing. And we also, for sure, get into the KPIs that are used for managing and use of resources. So we get into a final set of KPIs for each one of these areas, as we get that the better way to make it uniform for all the demo sites was this. And so we have KPIs for energy. I'm not going to go into detail, just to tell you that those are some of the basic ones. Again, for the environmental ones, and finally for the manufacturing one, the use of resources ones, and the quality, the time, the cost, all those aspects were included in those of the management. So what's next? This basic set of KPIs, of course, is not a complete one. We have a quite bigger one. And what we have to do now is to get with the demo sites, which is going to be the ones that are going to be used in their factories. So the ones that I show you are the basic ones that are going to use in all the demo sites, but more ones are going to be there. And then we will go into the baseline and so on, other aspects, but it is going to be taken in other presentations. For today, the time is gone. And we also already have talked about the things we wanted to talk today. So many thanks to all of you for listening. Any comment or question, you can send that to us. And also you can find quite more information on our websites. So thank you, that's it.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, so thank you all for your presentation. Now we can maybe dedicate a few minutes to the Q&A session, since I see for now a question from the audience. So I can read it, and maybe someone from the panelists, if you can turn on your camera, we can then answer. So the question I see is the following. In the last days, some factories in Europe have stopped due to the high prices of electricity and gas. Would it have been different with a tool like ECOFACT, or is ECOFACT valid for any industry? So I don't know if one of the panelists, maybe Francisco, the coordinator, would like to answer. If you can turn on your camera, it would be great.
Yes. Do you hear me?
You. Yes, properly.
Perfect. Okay. So can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, sure. So in the last days, some factories in Europe have stopped due to the high prices of electricity and gas. Would it have been different with a tool like ECOFACT, or is ECOFACT valid for any industry?
Okay. So perfect. Well, that's a very good question and very related with what is happening currently in I was going to say Europe, but indeed is in the older world. I think it's good have been exactly the same. I mean, those factories that are stopping right now in Europe are basically foundries, fertilizer factories, probably cement factories, and ceramic factories will be the next ones to stop sooner or later if the prices of electricity and natural gas continue as they are right now. I mean, we expect ECOFACT platform, a tool, to be useful for all kind of factories, but honestly, I think it will not be, those highly energy intensive factories like foundries, fertilizers factories, and so on, probably will not be the best candidates for the ECOFACT platform. ECOFACT platform, I think, is more suitable or optimum somehow for those factories where the energy consumption is highly split among different machines, among different lines. So you have multiple points for energy consumption, you have multiple points for possible inefficiencies that cannot be so easily detected and managed using, manual, treatment of the data, where While if you have some kind of automatic tool data, you can have a a better discovery and management of these possible inefficiencies. So that's my answer. It's in theory it's suitable for any factory, but if we focus on foundry, for instance, if you in a foundry, probably 90% of the energy consumption in a foundry is due to the melting oven itself. So obviously, when we are talking about a melting oven, we are talking about a huge infrastructure that costs millions of euros, tens of millions of euros. And when a factory installs such a machinery, it's thinking in a payback of 20 or 30 years. So once you install that machinery, somehow you are married with that machinery for the rest of for the next 2 decades. So it's not so probably energy intensive factories, industrial processes more than factories, are not the optimum candidates for ECOFACT platform.
Great, thank you, Francisco. For the moment, I do not see any other question in the question box, but I think the time is finished for this webinar. So maybe, yeah, what I would like to stress is that you can reach us through our website anytime if you have any doubt, any question for us. So for the moment, I would like to thank you all for attending this webinar. I would like also to thank to all the panelists for presenting their information related to the ECOFACT project. Yeah, I wish you a nice day. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and
Thanks a lot.
follow us on our webpage, and you will see more detailed information.
Great, thank you.
Okay, bye bye. Have a
Bye-bye.
good day.
Bye. Thank you.